According to Forbes, student loan debt in 2020 has amassed to a total of $1.56 trillion. This crisis and how we solve it is not just important to those who are indebted, but to all Americans. Let's take a look at the overview of the issue. Federal student loans started in 1950 to encourage more young people to earn a higher education. However, the problem did not start until around the turn of the century. The problem, as I will digress into later, is mainly caused by the massive increase in tuition. Obviously, higher tuition equals to more money that needs to be borrowed. Now, this would not be as big as an issue except for the fact that many graduates cannot secure employment. In accordance to a study conducted by the Student Debt Relief Organization in 2013, there were roughly 37 million people in student loan debt, and half of the recent graduates were unemployed. Not to mention that many of those who were employed were not even working in their field of expertise. To summarize, this is an increasingly growing problem that will directly affect millions of Americans, but not only that, the issue and its solution will affect all Americans. Now, for this speech, I will first point out the perils that lie within the current popular solution, and then I will explain a two-part plan that is beneficial to the country as a whole. Now, let's take a look at the current popular solution offered. The student debt crisis has taken center stage in the political fray and is a hotly debated topic. Extracted from a New York Times report, Bernie Sanders, a senator from Vermont and a recent dropout of the Democratic primary race, proposed canceling all $1.6 trillion of U.S. student loan debt. This proposed solution is not an outlier, as it is backed by the majority of the Democratic Party, and bills in Congress have been made and are in the works to enact this plan. Now, elimination of all student loan debt sounds like a really good deal, right? Especially to those who are in debt. With the signing of with a piece of paper, all that debt just disappears. Except that's not how reality works. Debt is debt, and somebody is going to pay. The plan is to enact a special Wall Street tax that targets high-level traders. This is discussed within a Fox Business article that describes the tax. While this sounds like a logical plan that does not affect many people, it would create devastating effects upon the country. As these enormously wealthy people and corporations continuously have their money taken for trading stock, they will eventually be discouraged from participating in the market. These people and the corporations I'm referring to make up a massive bulk of the U.S. stock market, and their disappearance from trading will result in a massive economic crash that will drag the economy into a very dark place. That is exactly why this problem is so important to the entire country. Now, that's an in-depth look at the proposed solution and its effects. However, to me, a simple glaring question is, how does erasing all debt solve the problem of the accumulation of debt? We would simply be forced to continuously forgive debt over and over to no end. Another question to pose is, why should we stop at student loan debt? I don't mean to invoke a slippery slope fallacy, but this plan begs the question of why not forgive other debts? Why not move on to credit card debts? Or we could start forgiving car loans and house payments. It has no end and is simply illogical. Moving on to more practical solutions that target the heart of the issue. Now, I believe this crisis has an economic side to it as well as a cultural aspect. Moving to the second point, I'll focus on the economic part of the solution. It is clear that half of the economic battle is with the ever-rising college tuition and in the steep interest rates that come with the borrowed money. To highlight just how much tuition has risen, CNBC gathered data on the average public university tuitions from 1978 and compared them to today. In 1978, the modern equivalent to cost to attend a public university for a year was around $8,000. Today, that cost is $21,000. That is an astronomical rise that increases every single year. This problem is partially caused by the blank check that the government writes for anybody that needs money for college. Universities, knowing the government will pay the cost no matter what, have no reason to try and keep tuition low. Whatever they wish to charge, the government will pay and simply foot you the bill for many years to come, plus interest. Now, that's just one reason for tuition gouging. The other is from the Great Administration bloating. According to a separate Forbes article, during the 1980-1981 school year, public and private institutions' total spending on administration was $13 billion, compared to the $20.7 billion spent on teaching. Fast forward to 2014 and 2015 school year, admin costs equaled a total of $122 billion compared to the $148 billion spent for teaching. This shows that colleges spend as much money on administrators as they do to teach, which is what we pay them to do, is teach. Not every department needs 2 deans, 3 vice presidents, and 6 vice presidential assistants to do its job. I assure you, departmental responsibilities can be consolidated into a fewer number of administrators. In result, the university will not need as much money to pay non-essential workers, thus costing you less money. Now, the other half of the economic issue is the high interest rates. Essentially, we have a one-lender system in which the sole lender is the federal government. We need to open up student loans to the private sector to let the free market work for our benefit. Lenders will be forced to compete with one another by bringing rates down to percentages more favorable to the general public. Currently, the government has no real reason to try and keep rates low because there's virtually no other place for us to get student loans. This is simply an instance where less government involvement is better. In summary, the cost of college and the loans that come with it can be lowered by the cutting of non-essential costs at universities and the movement of student loans to the private sector. Moving on to the final point in the other half of the student debt loan solution, our society and culture are partly at fault for this crisis. All children are told growing up is how they need to earn a college degree in order to be successful. Every high school places special onus on the college preparatory aspect of its job. More and more people need to hear this one simple truth. College is not for everybody. Not every single person needs to earn a 4-year degree in order to be successful and not poor. We as a society need to highlight trade schools more, where craftspeople can learn a practice that will always generate a stable income. Another institution we need to highlight is community college. Community colleges are significantly cheaper than state and private institutions. It is not the old days anymore where employers care about where you study. The focus of employers now is all about work experience. So long are the days where you need a degree from Harvard, Yale, or MIT to be successful or to do something important. Patrick Healy of Caliber Financial Partners expresses the need for families to really weigh their options before taking out massive loans. Now, this solution is not as clear-cut as an economic plan, but it is a key proponent to solving this issue long-term. In summary, we can now see the flaws to outright loan forgiveness and have laid the foundation for a twofold plan to tackle the root of the issue by driving down tuition and interest rates, as well as breaking away from the everyone needs college culture. To recap, roughly 37 million Americans are in accumulated $1.6 trillion of debt because of student loans. But this impacts all Americans, as certain solutions could devastatingly crush the economy with lasting effects. In conclusion, the crisis is important even for those without student loan debts. We need to act swiftly with logical solutions that will bring this problem to its eventual end.